Multilingual education holds great potential. But how can an MLE project be started? This video will describe how government agencies, linguists, local communities, civil society organisations and NGOs can cooperate on the steps needed to build strong MLE programmes. So what do these steps include? Supportive policies, preliminary research, awareness raising and mobilisation, alphabet development, teacher recruitment and training, curriculum and learning materials development, documentation and evaluation, funding and cooperation. Additional information can be found in the Implementers section of the UNESCO Advocacy Kit for promoting multilingual education. Let's now look at each of these steps individually. Supportive policies. Before an MLE programme can be started, policy issues must be addressed. Ideally, there would be a clear national policy embracing the MLE concept, supported through the national budget. If there is no national policy, local policies, or at least local permission in support of MLE pilot programmes can be established. Preliminary research. Accurate information about the language situation must be collected. The Ethnologue at www.ethnologue.com is a free resource which contains general linguistic information for most of the world's 7,000 languages. However, local surveys are needed to fully understand the language situation. Linguists, working in conjunction with local authorities and community leaders, can survey the proposed project area. Questions to be asked include the following. What languages are used in each village? How do people feel about their own language, as well as the language of their neighbours or the national language? What written materials exist in the local languages? What are local attitudes towards education? What other community problems, such as health or social welfare, could the MLE programme help solve? What resources are in the language communities? Are there musicians, storytellers, poets, religious leaders, or other people whose traditional knowledge could help benefit the project? Are there trained teachers who speak the language? And what are the main cultural, social, and economic conditions? Awareness raising and mobilisation. Mobilisation is about encouraging people to take action to improve their own lives. Minority people who may have suffered from discrimination sometimes believe that their language is worthless. So awareness raising and mobilisation is needed to firstly demonstrate that their language is valuable, and secondly explain the benefits of the MLE programme, illustrating how it will preserve the minority language and culture, while also helping the learners master the national language. Awareness raising and mobilisation activities at the regional and community level could include special presentations at festivals, community radio programmes, concerts of traditional music and posters. Community language committees can be formed to promote and advise the MLE project. Alphabet development. Many of the world's minority languages do not have an alphabet, but this does not need to be an obstacle. During the 20th century, over 1,500 new alphabets were developed for previously unwritten languages. Community members and specially trained linguists can cooperate to create new alphabets. The steps include collecting and analysing the sounds as well as the sound system of a language. To do this, linguists typically work with villagers to collect lists of common words, as well as short folktales to analyse the sound system. Then the community members, using options and advice provided by the linguist, check and test their conclusions to determine which sounds should be represented in the alphabet. Deciding on a script. Whenever practical, newly written languages should use the script of the national language, with the community deciding which symbols should be used to represent the important sounds of their language. Some special symbols, letter combinations, or diacritic marks may be needed for minority language sounds which are not found in the national language. Testing the alphabet. New alphabets must be tested. Short lists of common items as well as simple stories can be written and shared with community members. The goal is an alphabet that is acceptable to the community, linguistically accurate, and is easy to learn and use. Curriculum and learning materials development. Many people mistakenly believe that national language textbooks should be translated into the mother tongue for MLE programs. Such translations often create confusion for the learners. Instead, community people can be empowered to produce written, low-cost materials in their own language. Content of curriculum and learning materials should reflect findings from preliminary research. Emphasis should be given to meeting national standards and competencies, using the national language textbooks as a resource, rather than simply translating them. Educators can help to ensure that national education policy goals can be met using MLE material. Short workshops from 2 to 4 weeks can train ordinary villagers to become writers, editors, and computer operators. ICT tools such as digital cameras, computers, and radio can be used to help materials be more attractive and locally relevant, and so more interesting to the students. Locally produced materials could include a cultural calendar describing typical village activities the year round, big books with simple, repetitive grammar and vocabulary items printed in large format for group reading, small books for the teacher to read to the class and for individual reading, games and songs to add variety to the learning process, a picture dictionary showing words in the local language, the national language, and, where appropriate, an international language. Reading materials should be ranked in order of difficulty to ensure that there are sufficient materials at all levels. Mother Tongue First MLE can also be highly effective for adult learners. However, separate materials are usually needed for adults and children, due to different life experiences and interests. Primer development. Primers are used alongside storybooks to teach reading and writing. To create primers, short stories are analysed to determine which letters occur most frequently. Those sounds should be taught first. Each primer lesson should teach only one letter and be supported with word building and word decoding drills, as well as review of previously studied letters. Transitional materials development. After the students have begun reading and writing their mother tongue, they will need second language acquisition materials to bridge from the minority language to the national language. These materials should first teach listening skills in the national language, using total physical response, games and songs, and then develop speaking, reading and writing skills. At each stage, it is important to show the students the similarities and differences between the minority and national languages. Teacher training. The preliminary survey should discover whether there are professional teachers in the area who speak the mother tongue. In addition, ordinary villagers can be trained as basic literacy teachers or teacher assistants. Whether professional or non-professional, all teachers require additional training to understand the teaching methods for good MLE programs. Ideally, prospective teachers should be involved from the beginning of the project, especially during the materials production workshops. In addition, all teachers require pre-service training as well as in-service training and frequent supervision throughout the school year. Once the program has begun, follow-up workshops and in-service training will be required to revise existing materials and prepare new materials.